like wrestling now. It's stuff like this when you can see right through it. Lucian Bute, 31-2 with 24 KOs, is signed with Haymon. So in Romanian, Canadian, French, he's going to be saying, "Thank you, Haymon. Thank you so much." I know that probably was an ignorant statement, but it's early 7:08 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, January 19th, 2015. I'm T-Street Controversy. T-Street Controversy Live, T-Street Controversy on Real Combat Media, T-Street Controversy on Instagram, T-Street Controversy on Twitter, T-Street Controversy on Facebook. Please subscribe. Lucian Bute. Let's run off some names. Haymon, you're not slick. He's not slick. Let's run off some names. William Joppy, Brian McGee, Edison Miranda, Jesse Brinkley, Glenn Johnson, Jean Pascal, who he lost to most recently, well, his last fight over a year ago, and Carl Froch, who cobrared him. Yes, that's what Carl Froch said. He knocked him out. He got cobrared. So Lucian Bute signs with Haymon. Let's look at the 168 and 175 pound division. 175 pound, also Canadian, French-speaking Haitian, Adonis Stevenson, Superman, fights in the Montreal Bell Center. Lucian Bute fights in the Montreal Bell Center. I know I jumped a little bit ahead, but Lucian Bute has been signed to be a sacrificial lamb for Adonis Stevenson, Andre Dirrell, Anthony Dirrell, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Those are the Haymon stable of 175, 168 pound guys, and those are the top. Those are the ones at the top. Now, with Adonis Stevenson taking on Dimitri Husky, and before Adonis Stevenson decided to fight Demetrius Husky, you had Jean Pascal, the WBC silver, which makes him the #1 contender for Jean Pascal's WBC title, openly calling him out. Once again, he's a Canadian, Haitian, French-speaking fighter who also fights in the Bell Center. What does Adonis Stevenson do? What does he do? He has a bad fight with Fanfara, or on paper, yes. It only showed that he has a limited arsenal of punches. And he goes on and fights Demetrius Husky. So, looking at the fact that Jean Pascal is now fighting Sergey Kovalev in a high-profile fight for the WBA Super World, WBO, IBL Light Heavyweight Championship, then someone's looking stupid and someone needed an opponent. Now, did I ever think that Haymon would say, "Fuck this shit, we're going to go sign Lucian Bute"? No, I never thought that. But the way Haymon works is, if you're a no-name and you're available and you can be signed, oh yeah. Is this fight going to be on NBC? It's hard. I believe this would be a Showtime fight. You know why? It's because Haymon still has ties with Showtime, by the way. I believe it will be a Showtime fight. Why? Is because the NBC would be nationally televised, and both of these fighters are French speaking. You would want to put that on Showtime. So many reasons why. But it's apparent right now that he was signed to fight Adonis Stevenson. I mean, it seems that way, right? Or one of the 168 pound fighters. Me personally, I think he's a 168 pound guy, because when you look at the record, as I said, did I run off the names already? William Joppy, Labrado, Andrade. He was supposed to lose to him, but there was this referee that really gave him a gift by letting him just keep getting his ass beat. He fought him again, won cleanly. So he went for Edison Miranda, William Joppy, Jesse Brinkley, Brian McGee, Glenn Johnson, Jean Pascal. I'm missing some names. Jean Pascal, and then he got knocked out by Carl Froch. Now, credible resume, but if you look at the guys he was fighting early in the career, those were guys that were pretty much over the hill at the time. But then when it comes to when he actually had his real competition, not Glenn Johnson, when he has real competition against Carl Froch, I predicted he would be knocked out. That was in 2012. Yeah, I was here. And he sure did get knocked out. So, looking at the landscape now, I'm thinking it's a win-win situation. Haymon signs him. Haymon most likely wants Lucian Bute to lose to his fighters. But if Lucian Bute wins, you're like, oh, we got a champion that we can market up in Romania. Up in Canada, and he's got a pretty popular known name. It can sell an arena if he wants to. Not here, but in certain countries, and definitely in Canada he can. So I don't really see nothing wrong with their signing, especially for a guy like Lucian Bute, who I really didn't care too much for anyway. But it also makes you question, like, well, what about that Roberto Belanti thing? Jean Pascal ended up fighting him, and that just was, outrageous. But Haymon, the way he works, it's becoming kind of predictable. I say, listen, don't drink the Kool-Aid right now. Let's see what kind of fights he's putting on next year. Remember, this is all the grand opening. Remember when Circuit City, first, you got to be an American, first opened, or remember when West Coast Video first opened, and then, Blockbuster came and just pooped on them, and then, Netflix came, and then Blockbuster, you notice, like, why am I going here and you don't have any more copies of the movie? No, I'm going to Netflix, So it's just a grand opening right now. It's just a grand opening. I'm not thinking too much into it. But Lucian Bute is officially signed with our Haymon. Will he appear on NBC? I do not know. If he would appear on NBC, it would most likely be an undercard, in a comeback fight against one of the lower tier Al Haymon guys. But it looks like to me they're setting him up to fight Adonis Stevenson. And by the way, the Bell Center is still reserved for April the 4th, if I'm correct. I'm not sure, but that'll be the next story I'll probably cover, because I can imagine that we'll be hearing who Lucian Bute is going to be fighting sometime in the next 2 months. I'm T-Street Controversial with RealCombatMedia.com. I cover every single major fight live, news, reviews, predictions, post-fights, interviews, weigh-ins, etc. Future boxing reporter. Please subscribe.